you're just attaching those all the way around, all the way around. Hi, I'm Jodi Duncan AIFD, your Mayesh Design Star, and I'm coming to you in the beginning of November. This is a month of abundance. We're all looking forward to the tones and the tints of autumn right before we head into Christmas, and it's my favorite time of year. The beautiful product is just in its most vibrant hues, and we're going to get to use so much of it today in this cornucopia that I made. Now, a cornucopia is also known as a horn of plenty because it was that harvest time of year, and you'll find it in mythology, you'll find it in many different cultures. In our culture, it's definitely associated with Thanksgiving, which will be coming up really soon. This cornucopia is actually made from Victorian birch. This is actually 2 bunches of Victorian birch to make this great cornucopia, and it just comes all the way down the horn of plenty and curls right back into itself. So we have our horn of plenty ready to fill with the abundance of autumn. Now you could put a block of floral foam in the cornucopia. I just want to keep it a little more whimsical, a little bit lighter. I like the fact that you can see through it, that the textures and everything, you can see into it and out of it. So I want to use more of a weaving technique and just grouping and bunching and just let it be full of wonderful things from autumn. I don't want a big heavy lump in the bottom of the cornucopia just because it's so pretty, and I want you to be able to see through that without filling it just cram-jammed full. So I've got some tiny little cages and they're already soaked. I'm going to use just a little bit of the aluminum wire. I'm just going to run this through the back and right out the other side, just like that. And then I'm going to attach this securely. Now, if you're going to use this in a client's home, you might want to put a tray underneath it just so that you don't have any water dripping. You don't want to ruin anybody's furniture, of course. We are professional designers, so we think about all those things. So be sure and use a tray or something to catch any of the water that might leak out. Or you could always use a mache tray or a loamy dish down underneath. I'm going to attach this one sort of to the rim in the front and just give that a quick twist so that it's nice and secure in our cornucopia. I want to have really nice, good mechanics. And I'm going to clip that off and tuck the raw ends back in so that nobody gets poked or none of the furniture gets scratched. Always remember that professional application of your mechanics. And then we're going to do one more kind of up high. Depending on the size of your cornucopia, you could use larger cages, or like I said, a block of foam, or smaller ones. So we've got our 3 little spots that we're going to begin to attach from. And one of the first things that I saw when I was going through the cooler at Mayesh was these wonderful calla lilies. And calla lilies do not have to be in water. They can stay out of water for a couple days depending on how well they've been hydrated. These have actually been out of water for a day and a half, and they still have plenty of stability within them. But I just want to weave these through. I'm not concerned that they have a water source because they even dry really cool, and it is autumn. So I'm just going to weave that through and just repeat the line that's already happening in our cornucopia. I think the stems just add texture. Everything's very small and hard to focus on, but when you add a thicker, heavier stem like a calla, it just calms things down a bit. Then we also have these little guys, which are super duper fun. This is a chestnut. It's very prickly, almost like a cactus on the outside, but when it sheds this, it's a chestnut right underneath that. We've got Christmas coming and the whole chestnuts roasting on an open fire thing, so we know Christmas is coming quick. So I really fell in love with these chestnuts. And I'm going to stick him kind of up at the top because he's kind of fun and not something you see every day unless you're in the Mayesh cooler. And you can abstract this just a little bit, pull off some of the foliage, because that can get a little busy. It's not about the foliage, it is about the chestnut. So don't be afraid to trim it back, and you don't have to use any of the foliage at all if you don't want. I'm gonna cut him really kind of short and bring him right in there. I just love those chestnuts. Makes me want to sing Christmas carols. We'll be singing them soon enough. Now check out these pomegranates. They are fantastic. I just love them, and they're very, very heavy, but the colors, they're just gorgeous. Now this is something that I'm going to definitely put in the bottom because of the weight. What we have to remember in design is that different items have physical weight as well as visual weight. This would be top heavy if I placed it at the top. And also I know the weight of this, it's heavier than you would think. So I'm going to place this in at the bottom because we want to anchor it. And I think it fills up our cornucopia quite nicely. And I'm just going to pull that branch between and cantilever it between some of the other branches so that it's nice and tight. If you wanted to secure it with a hog ring, you could, but I put it in there really, really tight. So the mechanics are pretty solid. I think I'm going to use this piece. And again, you can abstract this down, get rid of the stuff that you don't want, that doesn't add to the beauty or the integrity of the design. All of that's just a mess and it's unnecessary. So I'm going to clean it up because this is really what I'm after. Is that big, beautiful pomegranate fruit. And I want him to have a good spot right down there. And already I've started to hide a little bit of the mechanics from my cage that's right there. Also, I'm going to add some dahlias because I love them. And they are luscious and so autumnal. There you guys. And again, this is a case where I don't need all the foliage. I do like the buds though, but the rest of it, we don't need that. But it's just beautiful and luscious and perfect for fall. I'm gonna give him a fresh cut, and I'm gonna cut it pretty short. So this is not only a decorative element, but it's also gonna cover my cage right down here. And again, it's the whole visual weight thing. I don't wanna place that on the top because it would become top heavy visually and physically. We want to keep that in mind. So everything's just spilling out with abundance already. One dahlia is good, two is better. And some people throw away the buds, but the buds are my favorite part. I always keep them. So I'm going to give them a fresh cut, those two stems together, and add them as one singular placement right there. So they're just gonna sit there together. Here's another one, because I do love those. So we'll put him right there with his friends. And the berries of autumn and all the wheat are just delicious. I love the dark color of this wheat and grass, and it's just fantastic. I don't really care about the stem. I just want the plume at the top. So I'm going to cut that off very closely and get rid of the pieces that we don't really need, just so I keep those plumes, because that's what I'm after. So I'm just going to come through and trim those plumes off. That just looks like a fur coat or something. Love it, love it, love it. So I'm going to tuck him in right behind the dahlia, and actually even weave him in a little bit, pull him back out so that he's coming kind of out both sides. It almost looks like a feather, which is really super cool too. Let's see, let's do a couple roses. These are actually called, it's a cinnamon variety, and anything that is called cinnamon should be in a cornucopia for November, I think. So I'm going to cut those relatively short and pop those right in a really tight grouping. Get a few more here. So this is the abundance of this time of year, an abundance of color and texture and beautiful flowers and berries. Enjoy the abundance of your family and friends during this holiday season.